Pandalandaya taken at Kupakamaham Desigram Dildarnam, Paramananda Madhavam Chaitanya Isram, Katanjana Smrite Yasmin Puskaram Supram Pave, Kamsat Chaitanya Naman. Hare Krishna. So, when I was in Bangalore, we finished chapter 13. And then we are meant to do chapter 14. So now we are doing chapter 14. I think this is our agenda. That we want to do chapter 14. Okay. So chapter 14 by itself is simply an extension of chapter 13. So there, things are going to become a little bit more explicit. Things are going to be discussed in a more candid manner. So therefore, I am duty bound to give you some statutory warning that you may find things which may trouble you. It's not that chapter 13 did not trouble you. Chapter 13 also troubles you. But chapter 14 troubles us more. Generally, it is easy to do both of them together because once for all, you can go to the trouble and forget it. But by Krishna's arrangement, we are not going through them together. So we have to reopen our troubles. What to do? I am not responsible for it. So please don't blame me. Okay. So, we are joined by Tattva with Prabhu and Shanti Rupa Mataji. So both of them can take this chapter and we can all listen. That would be, I think, much better. It would be very inappropriate for me to take this chapter in the presence of two wonderful Grahastha couple. So, that is wrong name. Okay. I was one moment very scared. Okay, so you are seeing the screen. Somebody can read the summary, please. I mean, you have a reading order. I think so. You can follow the reading order and you can read the summary.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, yeah, I can read. The direct meaning of the forest of material existence is given in this chapter. Merchants sometimes enter the forest to collect many rare things and sell them at a good profit in the city. But the forest path is always bedecked with dangers. When the pure soul wants to give up the Lord's service to enjoy the material world, Krishna certainly gives him a chance to enter the material world. As stated in the Prema Vivarta, Krishna Bahurmukha hoye bhogo vancha kare. This is the reason the pure spirit soul falls down to the material world due to his activities under the influence of the three modes of material nature. The living entity takes different positions in different spaces. Sometimes he is a demigod in the heavenly planets and sometimes a most insignificant creature in the lower planetary systems. In this regard, Srila Narottama Das Thakur says, Nana Joni Sada Fire. The living entity passes through various species. Kardarja bhakshana kare. He is obliged to eat and enjoy abominable things. Tara janma adhapate hoy. In this way, his whole life is spoiled. Without the protection of all merciful Vaishnava, the condition have to scroll down, Prabhu. Have the conditioned soul cannot get out of the clutches of Maya, as stated in Bhagavad Gita. Manasasthani indriyani prakritisthani karsati. The living entity begins material life with his mind and the five knowledge acquiring senses, and with these he struggles for existence within the material world. These senses are compared to rogues and thieves within the forest. They take away immense knowledge and place him in a network of nescience. Thus, the senses are like rogues and thieves that plunder his spiritual knowledge. Over and above this, there are family members, wife, and children who are exactly like ferocious animals in the forest. The business of such ferocious animals is to eat a man's flesh. The living entity allows himself to be attacked by jackals and foxes, wife, and children, and thus his real spiritual life is finished. In the forest of material life, everyone is envious, like mosquitoes and rats and mice are always creating disturbances. Everyone in this material world is placed in many awkward positions and surrounded by envious people and disturbing animals. The result is that living entity in the material world is always plundered and beaten by many living entities. Nonetheless, despite this disturbance, he does not want to give up his family life, and he continues his fruitive activities in an attempt to become happy in the future. He thus becomes more and more entangled in the results of karma, and thus he is forced to act impiously of karma. Impiously. His witnesses are the sun during the day and the moon during the night. The demigods also witness, but the conditioned soul thinks that his attempts at sense gratification are not being witnessed by anyone. Sometimes when he is detected, he temporarily renounces everything, but due to his great attachment for the body, his renunciation is given up before he can attain perfection. In this material world, there are many envious people. There is the tax exacting government, which is compared to an owl, and there is invisible crickets that create unbearable sounds. The conditioned soul is certainly greatly harassed by the agents of material nature, but his intelligence is lost due to undesirable association. In an attempt to gain relief from the disturbance of material existence, he falls victim to so-called yogis, sadhus, and incarnations who can display some magic but who do not understand devotional service. Sometimes the conditioned soul is bereft of all money, and consequently he becomes unkind to his family members. In this material world, there is not a pinch of actual happiness, for which the conditioned soul is longing life after life. The government officials are like carnivorous Rakshasas who exact heavy taxes for the maintenance of the government. The hard-working conditioned soul is very saddened due to these heavy taxes. The path of fruitive activities leads to difficult mountains, and sometimes the conditioned soul wants to cross these mountains, but he is never successful, and consequently he becomes more and more aggrieved and disappointed. Becoming materially and financially embarrassed, the conditioned soul unnecessarily chastises his family. In the material condition, there are four principal needs, out of which sleep is compared to a python. When asleep, the conditioned soul completely forgets his real existence, and in sleep, he does not feel the tribulation of material life. Sometimes being in need of money, the conditioned soul steals and cheats, although he may apparently be associated with devotees for spiritual advancement. His only business is getting out of the clutches of Maya, but due to improper guidance, he becomes more and more entangled in material dealings. This material world is simply an embarrassment, is composed of tribulations presented as happiness, distress, and attachment, enmity, and envy. On the whole, it is simply full of tribulation and misery. When a person loses his intelligence due to attachment to wife and sex, his entire consciousness becomes polluted. He thus only thinks of the association of women. The time factor, which is like a serpent, takes away everyone's life, including that of Lord Brahma, and the insignificant ant. Sometimes the conditioned soul tries to save himself from inexorable time and thus takes shelter of some bogus savior. Unfortunately, the bogus savior cannot even save himself. How then can he protect others? The bogus saviors do not care for bona fide knowledge received from qualified Brahmanas and Vedic sources. They are only business is indulging in sex and recommending sexual freedom even for widows. Thus, they are like monkeys in the forest. Srila Sukdev Goswami thus explains the material forest and its difficult path to Maharaja Pariksit. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so this gives us a good idea of what is coming up. Thank you, Mataji, for the good reading. Okay, so next person can read the translation of the first verse. Somebody, please.
I read it. When King Parikshit asked Sukdev Goswami about the direct meaning of the material forest, Sukdev Goswami replied as follows: My dear king, a man belonging to the mercantile community, Vanik, is always interested in money. Sometimes he enters the forest to acquire some cheap commodities like wood and earth and sell them in the city at good prices. Similarly, the conditions of being greedy enters the material world for some material profit. Gradually, he enters the deepest part of the forest, not really knowing how to get out. Having entered the material world, the pure soul becomes conditioned by the material atmosphere, which is created by the external energy under the control of God Vishnu. Thus, the living entity comes under the control of the external energy, Dvaivi Maya. Living independently and bewildered in the forest, it does not attain the association of the body, who are always engaged in the service of the body. Once in the bodily conception, it has different types of body, one after another under the influence of material energy and impelled by the modes of material nature, and Tamaguna. In this way, the conditions of goes sometimes to the heavenly planet, sometimes to the earthly planet, and sometimes to the lower planet and lower species. Thus, he suffers continuously due to different types of bodies. These sufferings and pains are sometimes mixed, sometimes they are very severe, sometimes they are not. These bodily conditions are acquired due to the conditions of mental speculation. He uses his mind and five senses to acquire knowledge, and this brings about different bodies and different conditions. Using the same senses under the control of external energy Maya, the living entity suffers the same condition of material existence. He is actually searching for relief, but is generally baffled, although sometimes is relieved after great difficulty. Struggling for existence in this way, he cannot get the shelter of the people who are like bumblebees engaged in the learning cycle at the lotus feet of Sri Vishnu.
Okay, so in the purport, Prabhupada says that Hariguru Charanaravindha Madhukara Anupadavim. This is the end of this verse. Okay. So here he says Vipala Bhagu Pratiyogehas Tat Tapto Pashama Manim Hariguru Charanaravindha Madhukara Anupadavim Avarundhe. So let's read also some more of this purport and then we'll come back to some discussion. Okay, please read. Somebody please read.
There are many big cities. There are many big cities all over the surface of the globe, and wherever one looks, he sees the struggle for existence going on 24 hours a day. This Krishna consciousness movement has been started to give an opportunity to all the members of human society who are misled by foolish leaders. No one can get out of this struggle for existence, which is full of miseries, without accepting a pure devotee of the Lord.
So I just wanted to ask, what does it mean accepting the pure devotee of the Lord? What does it mean?
Accepting their advice from the people like our spiritual master, following that instruction, and serving.
Okay, accepting their advice and following the instruction. It's a good answer. So, are we able to do that?
Not really,
Hmm?
not really, truly not.
We are able to do something, we are not able to do something.
Yeah, we are able to do something, but not with the purpose.
So I would not say that we are unable to do that. We are able to do something. We are able to do the important things, like for example, chanting 16 rounds, following four related principles, preaching Krishna consciousness. Most of us, there could be some exceptions, but most of us are able to manage this because these are our initiation vows. Most of us are able to manage this. But here, the indication is to go a little bit more than that. The indication here is to go a little bit more than that. So therefore, here, Sukadeva Goswami takes a little bit time to explain that why it is called as forest, why the mental existence is called as forest, because this is the forest of mental existence. So he explains why it is called as forest. It is called as forest for two reasons. One reason is that you can be eternally lost in this, which Sukadeva Goswami explains in his purport. The other reason is that there seems to be unlimited opportunities. He, like a businessman, when he enters the forest, he keeps seeing one or other, and then he keeps thinking, okay, this is also good. Okay, that's also good. Okay, that's also good. Okay, this is also good. Like that, there seems to be unlimited opportunities. So then it is very difficult for the merchant in the forest to decide where to stop and go back. It's very difficult for him to decide that. So before he understands where to stop and go back, he may be consumed by lion, or he may be eaten by python, or he may become victim of the circumstances of the forest, or he may be eaten by tigers and jackals. So in this way, it looks as if he is preparing to achieve his goal, but actually he is not achieving his goal. So many times this could be applicable for us also, because it looks as if we are preparing to achieve our goal, but it may not also be so easy, mainly because we don't know where to stop collecting things from the forest of mental existence. So if we compare our life as the life of that merchant in this forest of mental existence, who is trying to collect, because he wants to later go and do business, and then he wants to earn money. So he doesn't know where to stop collecting. So sometimes it happens that we also don't know where to stop collecting. That is why Bhagavatam talks heavily about stopping Grahastha life and entering Vanaprastha life. There are a lot of discussions in Bhagavatam about doing this. Because Bhagavatam is meant for Kali Yuga. So in Kali Yuga, Bhagavatam understands that people will have difficulty with this subject. So therefore, Bhagavatam spends a lot of time trying to say that big kings did this. And he also says that everybody did this. Sages did this, kings did this, devotees did this. Everybody did this. They stopped collecting, and then they engaged themselves in full-time devotional service. So as Grahasthas, it is very important for us to think about this. See, what happens is that sometimes we think that what will I do? Because I am busy with my business or with my job or whatever it is. So if I stop my business or stop my job, what will I do? So this question comes. So that is why here Sukadev Goswami actually says that there is another business. What is that business? Hari Guru Charanaravinda Madhukara Anupadavim. There's one more business which is waiting for us. That business is that there is some honey which we have not tasted or which we have not sufficiently tasted. What is that honey? That honey is the honey which is tasted by serving the lotus feet of Hari and Guru. And that is something which we need to develop our taste for. So unless we develop taste for that, unless we have the great urge to actually engage ourselves to the service of lotus feet of Hari and Guru completely, not partially, not sometimes, we run very attractive programs. We say, I think some temples run programs with the name like Weekend Warriors. Weekend Warriors. I don't know if Bangalore has that program. Weekend Warriors. So means that you come and you wage your war with Maya on the weekend, and when the week starts, you surrender to Maya. So, but it's good, it's attractive, because at least you are weekend warrior. At least your weekend you are fighting with Maya. But why not whole week warrior? So this is a very important point. This is an important point, and it's a practical point. That's why Bhagavatam talks about planning about retirement. Everybody plans about retirement in Bhagavatam. Pandavas retire timely. Pandavas retire timely. In the beginning of first canto, it says timely retirement is there. So, therefore, Bhagavatam has given us one warning. What is that warning? Bhagavatam has given us one warning in the beginning, that whatever you do it in such a way that your taste for Krishna consciousness is increasing. That's a very important warning which Bhagavatam has given. So, if we have done something for 20 years or 25 years in our life, which has not given us ample opportunity to increase our taste for Krishna consciousness, that we simply want to take it up full time, then we are not doing it right. This is something which we need to understand. Then we are like this merchant who is stuck in the forest, who don't know when to stop collecting. Panchashordham Vanam Vrajet. At the age of 50, go to forest. Means at the age of 50, we should actually think of engaging ourselves completely in Krishna conscious service. Maybe 50 can become 55. Maybe 55 can become 60. Maybe 60 can become 65. It's okay. But it cannot that, okay, maybe 65 can become 70, 70 can become 75, 75 can become 80, 80 can become 85. It should not be like that. That should not be like that. 25 years or maximum 30 years of Grahastha life is more than sufficient to do our duties. If we have done that, then we should focus on Krishna consciousness. This is the first lesson we get from the forest of material existence. The first lesson is that do we live in such a way that our life is giving us that hankering for that honey which is there in the service of the lotus feet of Hari and Guru. This is a very important question which Sukadev Goswami is putting forward. And before this Hariguru Charanaravinda Madhukara Anupadavim, he gives one long lecture of what happens if you don't have this. So rest of the entire translation is simply a warning that if you don't have this, this is what is going to happen to you. There is a clear indication which he says, sometimes he renounces, sometimes he renounces. This is like us. Sometimes we become interested in Krishna consciousness. But we are unable to follow it through and then make it successful. Because we are just carried away by our own ideas of how to live our life. So therefore, we become victim of the forest of material existence. So therefore, the first warning Sukadeva Goswami gives, or the first definition Sukadeva Goswami gives, is why it is called as forest. The first shloka, or the first prose, it's not shloka, it's a prose. The first prose actually deals with the concept of this being forest. This material existence being forest. This is material existence is forest for two reasons. One reason is that if you get into it, you may just get lost. The second reason is that there are always some opportunity or other. Maya is continuously showing you one opportunity after other. That's why there's a very interesting shloka in